Well, hello everybody out there. Welcome again to another Howell Wildlife Photography photo stream. Today, super special guest. We have Peter Mather, one of our keynote speakers at this year's convention. And actually, I have Peter right here on the line. Peter, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you, Bongo?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you so much for finding the time in your schedule. I know you're either in the field or you're in an airplane or you're in the snow somewhere. You're right now in Kelowna right now, right? You were just saying?
Yeah, I've been doing a swan project, like trumpeter swan project, for a month. So I've been in the kind of the Yukon wilderness in the snow and the ice for the last month. But my daughter needed an emergency pickup from college, so I flew down to Kelowna, picked her up, and we're like buying her a old beat up used car and driving it back to the Whitehorse before I head back out for more swans.
Wow, what an adventure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just what that's so cool. Yeah. And then I was chatting with you even like a month and a half ago and you were in Southeast Asia or something like that?
Yeah, like our family, we go to Thailand and we do these like fitness vacations. So we go to this street in Thailand, and it's a really cool street. It's like got 20 like weightlifting gyms and 20 Muay Thai fighting gyms and 20 UFC gyms, and then it's got a bunch of CrossFit gyms too, which is what we go to do. And then it's all health food restaurants too. So we just go and we work out like 2 or 3 times a day. We eat really healthy. We recharge. And we're so tired, our brains turn off. Like I find it really hard in the world nowadays to like turn your brain off. There's so much going on, but when you're so tired from working out 2 or 3 times a day, your brain just goes off when you're done working out. So we were doing that earlier in the year, and it was great.
Very cool, very cool. Wow, wow. Isn't that awesome? And do you get to take pictures while you're out there in Thailand, or is it all just health focused?
It's all like I'm just trying to turn my brain off. Right?
You know
So
what?
I don't even bring a camera with me.
And good for you for doing that, because I speak to a lot of photographers, and that seems to be one of the biggest challenges is burnout, right?
Yeah. That's huge, and we hardly do any work. We're just so tired, and like as a freelancer, especially, you're like always working. Like it's not 9 to 5. It's 7 to midnight.
Work-life balance is one of the hard. I myself am also self-employed, and that is it's not. As long as you've got a decent business plan and you're staying on top of things, running the business isn't the hard part. It's managing your own healthy schedule, right?
Yeah, big time. And like so, I went and did that big health trip, but I spent a month photographing swans, and it's a lot of driving around and living in a camper, and I just don't eat well. You're out in the cold all the time, and you end up having like chips for dinner and stuff like that. Like and I don't eat. I'm not a healthy eating person, so
Yeah.
I have to do like another one of these kicks. So as soon as the swan project's done, it's just been 2 weeks like not working and getting my body back to where it should be.
All right, right on. Awesome. And then yeah, of course, once you're feeling good and your health is back, then yeah, you can treat yourself unhealthily, eat all those chips, and take photos. Now, when you took this grizzly bear photo, were you starving yourself, deprived of food, and waiting out there for a very long time? What's the story behind this grizzly bear photo here?
You know what? I don't have the live feed popping up on my thing. Is this the grizzly bear under the northern lights?
It is with the
Yeah.
it's some kind of fish that it's gotten, in its
Salmon,
jaws.
Yeah, you know what? Like my favorite thing with that photo too is it's called Ursa Major, because if you look in the top right side of it, it's got the Big Dipper, which is of course Latin's name is Ursa Major, which means the Great Bear. So that's pretty cool how it worked out to get like that, the Great Bear like constellation of stars in a photo on one side and Northern Lights on the other. But yeah, like that is a really bad one for health, because I'm living it's like -20, -30 out, and I'm in a camper for 2 or 3 months doing a story on these salmon that migrate in the Yukon in winter, and these bears that fish for the salmon in winter, and the bears get covered in icicles. So for that salmon one, the salmon bear Northern Lights one, I was not living healthy.
Wow. Yeah. This is probably one of the most unique wildlife photos anybody will ever see. I mean, like you said, the Northern Lights. I wasn't even cognizant of the whole how the Big Dipper ties into it. That just adds a
I
whole
know it. Yeah.
that's actually mind blowing.
Yeah, that's cool. Eh? It's kind
Yeah.
of a neat little thing.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm
And
just gonna
yeah.
say hi to some of our viewers here. We've got Joe from Perry Sound, and we also have Steve as well, who says amazing photo. And yes, I completely agree with that. And now, when you took this, like, is this a uh, kind of like a camera trap situation here, or are you in the water at this point? And then there's a flash going off as well. If I'm allowed to ask any of these questions, please fill me in.
Oh yeah, so I've been trying for this photo for about 4 years.
Wow.
At the same spot, and so there's a spot where the salmon spawn in winter,
Mm-hmm.
and so I got a photo that's similar to this, but not quite as good. Where the bear's also covered in icicles, like his fur is all icicles, and so that's what I was trying to get for the last 4 years. And it is a camera trap, so like it's not so like I do a lot of bear photography, but I don't do much at night because the bears are a little different. They're a little like brave. They know that you can't see as well at night, and they rely on their sense of smell so much, and they're better at night than we are, and so they're a little more confident at night with people, and in a way that makes me feel uncomfortable. So that's like a remote motion activated camera. It's a long exposure to get the Northern Lights right, like 2-second exposure, and then it has a flash right at the beginning of the photo. So the photo goes, it takes flash, gets the bear sharp, and then it's open for another 2 seconds to get the Northern Lights and the stars.
That's unbelievable. And now, is it thanks to the flash that you're getting the bear pretty well in focus here, right?
That's the only way you can do it.
Wow.
That's the only way. And earlier, like I tried to get it earlier with a wolf, and this was maybe 7 years earlier, and so the ISO on the cameras wasn't as good. Yeah, I had the first A7S, and I had a white wolf in that creek. And the day before, I'd been at the creek for a while, and the day before I went out and I found a bunch of salmon that only their head was eaten. And the wolves only eat the head because there's parasites in the stomach that get them sick. So I knew a wolf had been fishing there for the first time that year. And so I set up my camera, and I just hoped it would be like a white wolf, so you'd see it in the creek. And a white wolf came that night, got more fish, and it would just sit very still in the creek. And it wouldn't move, so you could do a long exposure. It was like a 2-second exposure, and the Northern Lights came out, and everything worked out perfect, except it was like about 3 stops too dark. And so I could only see it when you add 3 stops of light in Photoshop, and then it's like so clearly the image just doesn't work. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, did you say do you still have that image, or did you discard it?
I still have it, yeah.
And you know
Yeah.
what? I recommend that you keep it because, I've had chats about this with other photographers, and
Yeah.
you don't know if in 10 years, maybe they have some super software that might be able to rescue that photo, right?
Yeah, I wonder, right?
Right? So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm a horrible digital hoarder. I should delete a lot more than I do. But yeah, and
How big's your hard drive?
I have a bunch of 6 terabyte. I used to do wedding photography full time,
Yeah.
and so I loaded up on tons and tons because you take thousands of photos in a day because you're so frantic, right? As it is with wildlife too, right?
Yeah.
You have to take more than you think because you can never go back in time to relive that moment, right?
Yeah, I started doing video, and that just takes up so much.
Oh
too.
gosh,
And so
yeah.
I got like a 20 terabyte one, but I'm gonna have to upgrade soon.
Yeah. And my last question about this photo here. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what a camera trap is? How does it work, and is it an ethical option?
Yeah, so the camera trap is usually there's like 3 or 4 different types of camera traps, and they're all motion activated. So the camera sense like heat and motion from an animal coming into the picture. And so I'll put them out in very remote places, and an animal will walk by and I'll take a picture. In general, I would say that they're less disruptive than a person actually being there.
Yeah.
But it's like everything. There's a lot of gray to it, and you have to make your own decisions about being really ethical. Like, for example, I had some camera traps in a different location, and the bears would wreck the camera traps because they didn't like the flash. Yeah.
Right.
And so I stopped using them there because I don't want to like piss off a bear. Like they got hard enough lives as it is. But at the location where I got this photo, it's right at this village, and the bears like it's a fishing village, but the people don't fish the salmon that come in the winter, the coho, but the bears come and eat that. But the bears are used to walk around the village, and they go by the houses, and all the motion activated lights turn on the houses. So the bears here happen to be used to the flash, and so that helps. Like that's the only way I can make that photo there. And I think there's some places like bears just don't mind. I've got some other friends who use flash, but you can try it once, and but bear doesn't like it, you take it down because you don't want to be pissing off some poor bear out there.
Oh, of course, yeah, and I mean that's a big part of Howl is promoting ethical practices in wildlife photography. So even for you to say like, like the bears noticed the camera and they didn't like them, and then you respected that, right? And then you basically. So I think that's like super huge and really important to hear as well. And seeing this bear, they live just like kind of, as you said, they walk through the village with the lights.
That's cool. It's really cool. Yeah. And like at this place too, like the bears have been living with people in this location, sharing salmon together for like 1,000 years. Wow. And so, like they're more tolerant of bears than some of the other places where I go, and so that's it's pretty key that works. I once had like a camera trap like wolves are really like smart, and they're used to being trapped, so it's very hard to camera trap wolves, really hard. And there was once a wolf pack at like a garbage dump in this small community near Whitehorse, and I was like, okay, I'll try camera trapping them here because they won't be able to smell like my new scent because there's this garbage everywhere.
Right.
And so I put out like this laser beam camera trap where if you animal goes across a laser beam and takes photos, but the wolves are so smart they would just go like pick up the two sides of the laser and chew on them for a while and throw them away. Like they're so smart. Wolves are the hardest thing to like.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Good for them.
It's neat. It's neat to see. And like right now, I'm doing a project on swans.
Yeah.
And the swans are so smart too. Like I think they recognize different people.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to make the swans really comfortable with my cameras, so I would like put up like these dummy swans where I bought like a goose that hunters use to like draw on geese, and I painted it all white except for its beak, but they could tell the difference. Like they knew it wasn't a swan, and so like they're really smart. I was really impressed.
I
think that's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool though. That they're so smart like that.
That's unbelievable. Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, those are just fantastic stories. All right, let's go on to the next photo here. Okay, so you're going to have to tell me whether this one's a camera trap. So this is a fox sitting on some sort of a ledge over top of, I'm going to guess, your home village, right? Your hometown?
Yeah, that's in Whitehorse, yeah. So
and the snow's just pounding down.
And it's like on Christmas, that's like on Christmas Day or within like 5 days of Christmas.
Wow.
And that's also like a remote camera trap. I did a project for like a year during COVID. I was like, COVID was like the best time of my life because where I came from, not a lot of people were getting COVID.
Right.
Like up in Force, like, we didn't really get many cases of COVID until everybody had the shots. So we didn't have a lot of the negative effects of COVID.
Yeah.
And so we had some of the positive effects. For me were like, okay, everything's shut down.
Yeah.
You could just gotta stay at home and like we're allowed to go to walk anywhere because it's all forest around us. So I would just walk my dog 4 hours every day. Yeah, so I was really happy. And one day I was like walking my dog in our downtown core of our city, and a fox came out and was like challenging my dog. Mm-hmm. And so I took the dog home, and I was thinking, I bet you there's a den down there. So I went down the next day, and I found the den, and it had 9 kits in it, and it's like right in downtown Whitehorse. And so I started doing like a photo project on urban foxes, and I found 20 dens that summer. So just like in a small town, like over 100 urban foxes just living in our town. It was really cool. And so in the winter, right around the time they mate in like December, January, I'm following their tracks everywhere, and I see they're going up on this ledge above town. So I just put my camera up there, my camera trap.
Yeah.
and a couple flashes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And luckily that fox came back. It came back a couple times. And one of the funny things is I actually had to wrap one of my flashes in something because it was snowing, and I wanted to keep it safe. So I put my underwear around it, because what I do is I keep in my camera bag, I keep cotton underwear.
Yeah.
New cotton underwear I use to clean lenses, because it's cotton, and that's all I had. So I wrapped one of my flashes in that, and you don't see it in that picture, but earlier, maybe an hour earlier, that fox was playing with my underwear.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Using underwear as a diffuser. That's amazing.
So
the secret ingredient is underwear.
Yeah. And I think you can kind of see a little black spot to the left of the fox, and that's my underwear.
That is hilarious. Wow.
And it worked out great. It worked out to be a really good photo. A little overexposed in the flash, but it worked out pretty cool.
Yeah. It has like this from the Lion King, this Pride Rock kind of vibe to it. The animal on the Pride Rock.
And that was just so much luck. Because it's like doing all this other stuff, and then it just sat down for 1 second in the perfect spot. The photo, but the camera took the photo, and then it was doing other stuff. So I never sat down again. What are the chances it's going to sit and look at its town?
I know, right? And now there's some light that's shining right in the fox's face, and obviously it's kind of creates this halo effect. Is that a camera trap, or is that like a municipal light fixture?
No, that's like a flash. I always wanted to backlight animals, but it's really hard to do that naturally, because and I was up with a buddy who's a really good photographer too, from France. I'm just trying to think of his name. And he was just in town for a couple of days, and he's like, "Oh, you should put some backlit flash in." So I stuck some backlit flash in, and his name's Jeremy Villet, like Villet.
Yeah.
And he does all those photographs where it's all snow, but there's just a colorful animal in the middle, and he'll always have a little bit of snow blurring out the foreground. And his work's really cool to check out if you get a chance.
I'll have to check him out.
Yeah. And that was his idea, so it was cool. It worked out good.
This is what's great about photography, is you can learn from others, right? So much. Yeah. Which is a big part of Howl for us, is because the networking and the learning really is a big part of it.
Yeah, the thing I'm most excited about Howl is I've done a couple of these, but I haven't done it in a couple of years, where you go to these conferences where everybody has the same interest. So in our business, I'm in conservation photography, wildlife kind of photography business. You're usually spending weeks, days, or months out on your own somewhere.
Yeah. And
you're working on these important projects that are really hard to get attention to, like conservation projects, because you're talking about going against often things that are important for the economy, which are money, which people really value, and you're trying to preserve these things. You're often working with small teams and stuff. And so when you get to something like Howl, you have all these people who have the same passion and interest. You feel like you're all on the same team, and it regenerates your passion and soul and drive, and makes you happy because you're working with all these teammates and you feel part of a team, which we don't have enough of in our industry, just because of the way people work. It's usually in ones or twos and threes. Yeah. So that's what I'm pretty excited for that, to kind of sit down with my people.
I love that. Oh, okay. The way you just summarized that is beautiful. Because that's really a big part of our mission, is and we really thought about that, is we're all in the field, we're all hiding from each other, and not necessarily revealing our locations to each other as well, right?
Yeah.
So
it's huge. And it's just everybody's got the same passions. Everybody's kind of in it for good reasons, and it regenerates everybody's enthusiasm for what you're doing, Yeah. So good.
Love it. Well, all of those emotions we're going to experience in Howl. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. The next photograph that I have here, I'm not sure if this is a macro photo, and it's kind of there's these red leaves above, and I can't tell if it's teeth or something. And then there's sort of a band of green, and then another kind of almost looks like a coral sort of material on the there's 4 layers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's a popular photo that I sold as a print, and I took that back in the days of slide film. And I love
Wow,
how,
this is a slide film photo.
yeah, yeah. So
Cool.
that would have been like from like 1999.
Oh, so vintage. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. And like people will always see that and they see different things. Like it's caribou teeth, it's a caribou jaw that's found in the landscape, and the moss and the soils and the kinnick bushes are retaking it, you know,
Wow.
like bringing it back to the land. And it's a lot of people often, you know, see it as like mountains and clouds, you know, where the teeth are the mountains.
That is so mind blowing. Now that you mention that, yeah.
Yeah, it's neat, eh?
When
And I
I
did.
first, yeah. Sorry, I'm totally jumping in here.
No, you go, you go.
When I first saw it, I thought it was one of these drone photos. You know, when they
Yeah.
bring the drones up and then they kind of show you the landscape. But you're right. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's cool because I never saw that before, and then people like will buy it and be like, "Hey, this is what I think when I hang it on my wall. This is what it looks like to me," and I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool." And yeah, it's a macro of caribou teeth. It's
A
yeah,
macro of a
and it's like my first good photo, probably.
caribou.
You know,
My
like
first good
yeah,
photo. Yeah. Wow.
yeah, yeah,
So there,
yeah.
it's steeped in meaning in that case.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too, because like you look back at your old photos from like 25, 30 years ago, and it's nice when you find ones that you're still really proud of.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And I've just got Joe here from Perry Sound chiming in,
Oh,
saying
cool.
that it's very interesting, says Joe. And just another comment earlier about including the Ursa Major. Joe really enjoyed that.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, Joe.
Right on. Caribou teeth, so cool. Okay, and then the next photo. This one's really cool. I'm going to assume this is a caribou, and it's very misty or snowy, and it's really the antlers that are the
Oh, yeah.
star of the show of this photo. Yeah, if you
Yeah,
want to tell me a
yeah.
little bit more about how this one came together.
So we have this caribou herd in the Yukon called the Porcupine Caribou Herd, and it's like 200,000 caribou.
Wow.
But we're very remote. Like the Yukon's the size of California, and we only have 35,000 people, or probably 40,000 now. So we've got 40,000 people. And so the caribou used to have this larger range, but there's this highway, the Dempster Highway, that goes through the middle of it, and so they don't cross it very much anymore. And they happened in 2015 to come by it and cross it, and it was in the winter, and they were going to their wintering grounds, and 50,000 caribou came by. And so I was in Whitehorse and I heard about it, so I loaded up my camper in the middle of winter. This was like November or October,
Mm-hmm.
and I spent weeks just camped up there with the caribou and a lot of hunters, a lot of like the First Nations are hunting, but also the people from like Whitehorse and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like pretty intense living because I'm in my camper. It's like minus 30, minus 40. Now probably just minus 30. I don't think it was minus 40 at the time, but it's so dark. Like you only have like 5-6 hours of daylight. And so you're in camp most of the day. But in the day, I'd go out skiing and I'd try to find a place where there aren't people hunting. And I would just kind of like where the caribou might be going. And I just found like a spot on top of this mountain. And I saw these caribou coming up. So I just like hid and just hoped they would keep going on the line and come right by me. And every now and then I'd peek my head up.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got lucky that this big bull, this big, beautiful bull, I've always wanted a photo just like that, where like, so the blurry part is just the snow in the foreground because he's just like coming over the hill, you know, right towards me. And so it's a pretty special experience that you kind of like, you always remember it's like minus, 20, like this cool, like kind of a little bit foggy, like snowy day.
Yeah.
And this caribou just walks like right up to you with these giant poles. It was pretty special.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
This is a goosebumps kind of an image. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And just the
fun.
antlers taking center stage too. It's so neat.
Yeah, and it's one of those images you kind of picture, but you're like, oh, I'd love to get an image like that one day, and then it just kind of like happens, like just how you kind of dream about it, which doesn't happen too often, where you like always think of getting something, and then that thing happens to you. So
Yeah.
that was special.
Yeah. And everybody watching, Pete's going to have a lot more to say about lucky moments in his presentation
Yeah,
at
no
Howard.
kidding. Yeah,
So don't
it's all
miss it.
luck.
It's all luck.
It is really. It's all like just what do they? You earn your luck, but like you earn your luck. But that's what great photos are. I find it's like, I've worked with a lot of the top National Geographic photographers in the world, and I haven't found them more talented than other photographers that I work with.
Yeah.
The difference is they're out for 9-10 months a year, spending hundreds of $1,000s, and when you're out that long and you're working that hard, you get more luck. It's just about being in the right place at the right time and working. It's less about like super talent. it's more about luck and maybe a little bit about finances and time.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. And the next photo that I've got here, this is actually a portrait that somebody took of you. It's like you're dragging a boat in the snow and you've got a red paddle.
Oh yeah, so
I think this is the one on your website in your about section.
yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
And yeah, who took this photo again?
A conservation photographer named Morgan Heim. She's with the International League of Conservation Photographers. It's the group I'm with, as well. And they would do gatherings kind of like Howl all the time.
Cool.
And so that's kind of like previous to Howl, that's what I would do. Like maybe every 3 or 4 years, I'd go to one of these ILCP gatherings and I'd see Morgan there. And I was in Alaska, just like photographing these eagles one time, like doing a 2-week project out there, and she happened to be rafting by.
Talk about luck.
Like, and she's from like where's she from? She's from like Maine,
Yeah.
She happened to be rafting by doing a Subaru commercial about like a photographer going from Maine to Alaska to photograph eagles. And so she stopped and we shot the shit for a little while, and she took that photo of me and had a beer that night at the bar and went our separate ways. And every 3 or 4 years, I see her at one of these Howell Lake gatherings out there.
Cool. And it's just an incredible photo. I mean, I think it really captures everything that you do.
Yeah, it's kind of cool too, because like I'm often out there all myself doing that exact stuff, and so it's cool that you happen to have this great photographer float by in a raft. At the exact time I'm like pulling up in a canoe, and then that person, and then they get a great photo and they send it to you.
That's just great. Cool.
Yeah.
So everybody watching, this is by Morgan Heim, portrait of Peter Mather.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think we've got one more left in our slideshow here today. Okay, so this is another urban fox photo with some incredible, this is either a sunset or a sunrise. I don't know which golden hour we've got. And they're walking down a sidewalk here. You've got some incredible bouquet in the background. Yeah, is this part of the pandemic fox project here?
Yeah. So that was like one of the den, that first den I found, and that was like like I was trying to photograph at night because I could get that backlighting in. I was really trying to do because I could do I always like that backlighting on wildlife, but you can't do it in very many situations except for urban wildlife, really,
Yeah.
And so that was really cool because I started really fooling around with light, and I got to fool with flashes and stuff, which as a nature photographer I don't normally get to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really exciting. But that one, that I wasn't fooling around with any light. It was just like a mom and or I think a dad and it's like a son kind of like walking down the sidewalk, just going into the sunlight, and I'm just waiting for the light to set because that was probably like 1 a.m.
Wow.
In the Yukon. Yeah, like late. Like I'd have to go really late to get to backlight these guys to have night. And the funny one about that is like I didn't realize it was a good photo until like it showed up on a cover of a magazine. People just loved it. And it's very Disney,
Yeah,
so it's not the usual style. And so, but I use it a lot now because people really enjoy it, and it's not something I would have ever like thought was a really great photo, but it has a huge effect on people. And I think a lot of it has to do with watching Disney movies as a kid. It has that very reminiscent of like, what's that movie with the bear and the little boy walking through the jungle? I think it's The Jungle Book.
Jungle Book, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like where the son's looking up to the dad, kind of like, so it's good. It gives off a cool feel for people, so that's cool.
Yeah, isn't that neat? Wow,
yeah.
Very cool. Well, folks, that's just 5 images in a portrait of Peter Mather here. You'll have to attend Howl, of course, November 1, 2, and 3 of this year. We're going to be flying Peter in all the way from Whitehorse, so we're super excited to have him here. And howlphotocon.com if you want to check out some more information and how you can buy tickets and all that. So
it'd be good too, Bongo, is maybe for the audience. I got all these different stories that I kind of photographed, and so I got caribou, ice bears, urban foxes, wolverines, and I just finished swans, and I'm not sure which ones to present and talk about at Howl. So if people put in there what they'd like to hear about as comments on the feed, I'll look it up before I come, and then hopefully I can talk about what interests people the most.
Fantastic. I'll yeah, folks, if you heard that, in the comments, please add what any sort of particular subjects that
Yeah.
you might be curious to see. So fantastic. Awesome. Well, I know you're a busy photographer on the run, so I want to be very mindful of your time. Thank you again so much for speaking with us here today. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to see at Howell, and again, that's November 1, 2, and 3 of this year. All right. Well, good night, Peter. Thank you so much for your presentation today, and we'll see you at Howell.
Thanks so much, man. Mongo.
All right.